this project stimulating and important enough to me so that I would want to spend a considerable time thinking and reading on the proposal. Okay, does this idea have long-term potential to be expanded and continue to in my career? It's very important. Whenever you're writing a project proposal, it is very important whether that is going to carrying along with my whole career or is part of my career, or what is the focus of my department. That is also need to be understand, very important. Okay, what is the focus of my department? What is the focus of my institution? What is the focus of my university? Okay, what is my profession? That is very important. How do other goals fit with my topic of interest? That is also very important. Does this idea, whatever you are thinking about the project proposal, is contesting contributory thinking in the field of current research? Okay, I know the current literature on the project proposal, what is going on in the worldwide? What is the importance of research questions in this field? What are the questions which have not been solved in this particular area of research? So what areas we need to be a focus particularly? Okay, then we need to understand, okay, could you study the fill the gap between the knowledge which is not available? So that is very important to understand. Okay, has great deal of research already been conducted in this particular research? Then I need to understand, okay, has the similar study been done before, or similar study has been not been done? So we need to find out the, okay, gap between the research. So if so, there is a room for the improvement, right? So that's what we are writing the project proposal. Is this timing right for question to be answered? Okay, maybe your any question, right? So that idea, based on that idea. So once you identify all these things, area, your idea, okay, you have done everything, you have done all groundwork. Okay, then you need to understand, okay, funding agency, which funding agency, okay, which industry is going to fund your research proposal, right? Maybe you have government research proposal, government funding agency, or industry also can fund your research. Okay, once you
Professor,
identify, yes.
I have presented a slide. I hope you are able to see that slide
Yeah, I can see.
right
Yes,
now.
yes. Yes,
Okay.
I have opened. Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, yeah. The
So,
only one request is the time you say next, the slide will be changed. Right.
okay,
So next
sure.
slide, please. Okay,
Yes,
because
yes.
it is being operated. It is being operating by Gaurav. So he need your consent for moving
Sure,
to the next slide. Okay.
sure.
So
Yeah,
thank you very much, sir. Now you can please continue. This
thanks.
presentation is on with the participants. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Gaurav, next slide, please. Yeah. So once you identify, okay, your funding agency, it is very important that you answer all these questions. Okay, the questions of your idea. So which funding agency? Suppose there are government funding agency like ECRB, DST, DBT. Many you can just Google search. You will get all information. Who are the government funding agency? Based on particular area, they fund your research. Okay, we have the proposing like service program, anything, or target community program, policy makes, that is actually later stage when you now become a senior scientist or senior professor. That type of funding is also available with the DST and ECRB or all other funding agency. Okay, most importantly, will my study have a significant impact on the field? This question you should ask, not to you. Very important. Okay, if I do this project, so is anything is going to change? Anything, some mystery is going to solve, or any question is going to solve? This is also very important. So you highlight yourself first. So like resources, asking yourself some of the more questions. For example, what is my level of expertise? Okay, what is my interest? Along with, okay, whether I'm compatible with this topic or not. Okay, whether I'm familiar with this topic or not. Do I have necessary skill or knowledge to carry out the research project or this research idea or not? Do I have to time to complete all this project or not? This is also very important to ask you the questions. So what you are going to learn today? So you are going to learn this. Okay, what is research project? I'm just going very slowly to understand. I understand mostly they are PhD scholars. So research, what is meant by research project? What is, why to write grant writing process and all these things? So what are the different components of the research project? So I will just briefly mention here. different components of the research projects are, okay, for example, what should be the title, what is to be written in abstract, what is that particular methodology or experiment, what experiment you are going to do, now how much budget I should propose to get this funding a project approved. Okay, what is the timeline of the project? Maybe some project have 1 year project, you have to complete in 1 year, particularly when it is industry project, or maybe 2 year or 3 year, maybe 5 year project are also available. And you should know what is the expected output of the project. This is very important question. Okay, and then once you have all these things with you, then you should have research project grant review process. So I will briefly go how when you submit a research project, what happened to your project. I will also briefly tell you. Then you know all the process, right? Okay, so what to be added in budget section? So budget section, you need to add what things you needed to complete your project. So that we'll also discuss. And then at the end, we'll discuss some of the good tips while writing very good research proposal, and basically to get the funding from the government organization or industry. Next slide, please. Okay, so it is important that, so while writing papers and projects, it is a integral part of the scientific research. Gaurav, next slide, please. Yeah. So why we should write a project, or why one should write a project? Basically, all scientists, all scholars should write a project, because you have to write a paper also. Why you have to write papers? Because we have to publish papers. Why you have to publish paper? To get to know, to discover, to publish. This is the destiny of a scientist. Okay, there is actually one saying that if a scientist knows something and he has not published anything, which is he knows the knowledge, so that knowledge go with him only, right? If you publish, it is all over, all along with the words, right? So maybe some person in the world may have the use of it, right? Or society may have use of it, that particular knowledge. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, once suppose you want to write a paper, anything, you want to write a paper, you want to write a research proposal. Okay, writing should be very clear. Okay, in another way, writing can also be beautiful, right? This is amazing, right? So writing can be very clear, writing can be very beautiful. Means, though, no, you have to write in a very clear language. Your objective should be very clear. Okay, what you are going to do, what you are going to convey to the referee or reviewer, and basically what you are going to achieve from your project proposal. So make sure your project proposal should be very clear and beautiful. Means objectives of the project should be very defined. Okay, you want to obtain this. For example, okay, this COVID situation already, right? Already COVID vaccine has been out, right? So in a project proposal, your objective should be you want to prepare a vaccine for the COVID-19, right? So this should be your objective of the proposal. Very clear objective. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so so why do we want to write a research proposal, or why do we want to write a research papers? Gaurav, next slide, please. Yeah. So why do you want to write a research proposal, or you want to publish a research papers, right? That's what very important. Okay. If you write a research proposal, you get a funding. If you get a funding, what you will do? You do a lot of experiment. Okay. So maybe you have one defined objective. So along with defined objective, I will discuss you in the subsequent slides. When you start a research, it is not necessary that you will get only objective of your research, or only that goal of your research. Maybe in meantime, you may be able to find many research ideas or many outputs. So what do? You publish a papers, right? Out of all these things. While writing a research proposal or writing a research paper, it is very important. Okay, you actually why you are writing research proposal, or why you are writing a research paper? Because let to people know your scientific findings. or to establish a priority, right? Because, for example, UGC says that you have to publish papers in order to get your PhD. It is not like that, right? Means that is the condition that you have to publish 2 papers, and then and only then you will be able to submit your thesis, right? It's not like that, right? PhD also, before also you have to define a project proposal. You have to define a project, right? In the next 4 years or 5 years, what you are going to do, right? So you should have that basic idea in your mind what you are going to do. Then only successful many outcomes will come in terms of patents, technology, research papers, and all these things, right? Okay, then why another thing? Why you should write a paper, or why you should write a research proposal? Okay, to stay on your job, right? When you become senior professor and all these things, right? To get promoted or to get the next job and all these things is also important. By getting this, you'll have the next level of things. Another thing, okay, to get citation, to improve your H index and all these things. So these are minor things. You don't have to worry about that. Will happen automatically, right? You don't have to worry. Okay, go next slide, please. Okay, so once you have started, okay, you see your start point and ending point, right? Next slide, please. Yeah, keeping and the discarding information. Okay, so you see the end. You should, okay, where we should start. It is not necessary that where you have started. There are many ways to end with all these things, right? You can see there are many ways where you can end with your project, right? So you can see the star which I have marked with the cross, right? So there are different outputs. So based on this output, different ideas, we can actually write different papers, maybe end with a different project proposal also, right? So you see your starting point and your ending point should be very important. So you should know what is your ending, means what is your expected output. For example, I'm preparing for example, carbon based supercapacitor, or carbon based say field effect transistor, or say carbon based NO2 sensor, or whatever, or I want to do some DNA analysis or something like that. So I should know the end product, okay, end result expected. Not necessary that okay, sensitivity will come 3 like a 700 something like that, or response time will be a few seconds or something like that. You should have an idea, okay, what is your expected output. Okay, then you are going to start your process and all these things. Once you started the process, then at the end of project you will know, okay, what is the exact mobility, what is the exact response time, what is exact DNA separation, I mean all these things. Now what chemical reactions, what is the yield of the reaction and all these things. Or maybe if you are developing some computer software, so you know the end, okay, you are going to develop a kind of a software, or you are developing kind of that app or something like that for mobile or anything like that. So you know the end of the result. So in the while starting to beginning, there are many things. So that many things sometimes may be useful, may not be useful, but you should know the path from start to end. This is a path for scientific discovery. So you should concentrate on all the paths, and not necessarily that only one path will give you success. So there are alternative paths for your ideas that will also give you a success. Next slide, please. Okay, so what do you mean by research? Go next slide, please. Yeah. So before going to research proposal, so what do you mean by research? The systematic investigation into and study of the materials and sources in order to establish the facts and reach a new conclusion. That is known as research. And what is proposal? Proposal basically is a plan. Maybe it is a suggestion, or especially a formal or a written one put forward for the consideration by others to a funding agency. A research proposal is a document that outlines how you propose to undertake your research studies, right? Basically, it has to be submitted to a government agency or maybe industry through proper channel, means through your university, through your head of the department, through registrar of the university and all these things, so that you can forward this document to funding agency, and they will make sure that this document is coming from this university, this is the principal investigator, this is the co-principal investigator, and this is the requirement of the project, this is the budget of the project, and so that they will understand, okay, what is the main objective of your project proposal. Next slide, please. So basically, a research proposal is a document written by a researcher that provide a detailed description of the proposed program. It is like an outline of the entire research process that gives a reader or anyone a summary of the information which has been discussed in the project. Next slide, please. Gaurav is there? Next slide, please. Yeah, I'll discuss. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, basically, a research proposal I just mentioned is a document which is written by research or research scientists that will provide enough information about your idea and your objective, what you are going to do in the next 3 years or so, or maybe 5 years, depending upon your project duration, depending upon your the requirement, depending upon your timeline or whatever outline you have defined for or milestones you are going to achieve during your entire project duration. So basically, it is document which outline all your research summary, so that the person who is going to evaluate your project proposal, he knows the step-by-step information, and he will come to a conclusion that your project is working or not, right? Basically, to decide whether they should fund your project or not. Very important, right? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Again, why you need to write a research proposal, right? Again, the same question in your mind, right? Next slide, Gaurav, please. Yeah. So, as I already mentioned, academic success and promotion largely depends on the quality and quantity of received grants. That is also very important, because that will also bring grant money brings prestige and noteworthy to the writer and its his institution, right? Because however, writing a grant proposal is a very challenging task, especially for the first those who are not yet written the project proposal and all these things, basically not experienced researcher, right? So as a researcher, budget is very important. Or has sometimes they you put some budget and they ask you to reduce the budget of your project, because they know, depending upon your expected output, they come to a conclusion that okay, this money is very high, or maybe sometimes they can ask you, okay, you can increase kind of money, this money is not sufficient, you have to increase budget of your project. This also possible. So basically, funding agencies on river decide, okay, how much budget you have to be sanctioned, right? So basically, more researchers are competing for it, because once you are not only one submitting the project proposal, right? There are many competitors. So out of it, how your proposed project proposal should get sanctioned is very important, because it is very important, increasingly important, to be able to write a very good research grant proposal now for of high quality, so that your project proposal will get funded. Right. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. Go to next slide. Yeah. Yes. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. The importance of research proposal. Okay. Very important. I just already mentioned some of the points. Right. For example, okay, if you have a research proposal, now you're writing research proposal, you're writing your research idea, which basically help you to whether your research is what level of research you are doing. So the researchers intends to be do. It's very important. Okay, also the research proposal also can serve as a document of a contract for the project to the funding agency. Okay, so these are the points, these are the objective which you are going to do in your entire 3 years or so, whatever, 1 year or 3 year or 5 year. And because every 1 year, after 1 year, you have to define what work you have done. You have to show the progress of your project. So because entire they will evaluate your project in between. So because you are given already the timeline or your milestones you are given, so what you have done, now you have to make an outline. Okay, in first 3 months, what you are going to do. In another 3 months, like this. And again, 6 months, what you are going to do. Within 1 year, what your achievements or what goals you are achieving from your project. So this timeline already you have given to the funding agency. So this document also they have the kind of document. So they will monitor your progress. Okay, whether then sometimes it is very important because you have received the money for first year, not received money for second year because the milestones which you have defined in your project proposal not yet achieved. Then why they will should fund like that, right? So it is very important to make outline of your project, right? Okay, within first year, what targets you are going to achieve. In second year, what things milestones you are going to achieve, and at the end of 3 years or maybe if project is 5 years, 5 years, what targets or what objectives of the project you are going to achieve. Very important. So this should be a document thing. So research proposal can be effective if you start discuss with the projectors, with different professors, different people, right? So we alone cannot write a very good proposal. Okay, you should have a very good team, right? Like suppose, for example, you cannot be a multitask, like someone from biology, someone coming from computer science, someone coming from theoretical analysis, someone coming from chemistry, biology, or whatever. You come together, you share an idea. Okay, this is my idea. Okay, what is your thought? Okay, once you all the people come together, senior people come together, they can write a very good research proposal, very good idea, very good. They can define very good objectives, so that the objective should be achievable, right? Not just okay, just written, okay, something like that. No, nothing like that. Okay, should be achievable. So the overview of the research project too, so that the other people understand the scope of your research. Very important. The significance of research as well as your proposed methodology. Your proposed methodology is correct or not. So your senior professor or other person from the different discipline can tell you, okay, oh, whatever you have proposed, the research methodology, the experiment is valid or not valid. So this is possible or not possible, right? For example, you want to do some experiment like some reactions. You want to add these things, okay. So then say, oh, this required high temperature. Okay, someone said I can do this thing and this is the end product. But if the temperature required is suppose 1600, okay, this kind of facility is not given, then the senior professor will tell you, okay, this reaction will not possible here because it required the kind of temperature 1600 degrees Celsius is not available, and you cannot perform this experiment, all these things. Therefore, the kind of different interdisciplinary people can come together and they can actually write a very good research proposal. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the advantage of writing proposal? Okay, basically, all these things. What are the advantage of writing a proposal? Basically, you'll get funding to support your research. Okay, it will also allow you to review and critically evaluate your current research program. Okay, what are you doing currently? You are working on LED batteries, working on sensor, you are developing some kind of software program. So but you will clearly tell you where you are currently in research, right? So how is your research in comparison with the other universities, other countries? You will get to know why you should write a research proposal. Also, what are the another advantage? Okay, so it will convince yourself and others that your research is worth supporting or not, because then because what is reported in the literature, what is not reported in the literature, what is the gap of the knowledge, what is available, what is not available. So depending upon that, you will get the funding. Okay, but to keep focus on your research program. So what are your ideas, what are your objectives, that you have to keep always focusing. Okay, oneself have to yourself has to develop a very good novel ideas while writing or before writing a research proposal. Okay, whether it is novel or not novel, you have to do a lot of research, search and all these things, a lot of literature survey you have to do. Basically, you have to use all kind of software now this available. Okay, suppose I want to do a kind of COVID-19 sensor, right? the the minute you want to you have to get in a minute, something like that. Now there are many things are available, right, for detection of COVID test. Okay, now COVID test is available within can do in a 1 minute, but that is known now. So what is the next things? So that kind of idea we should have in your mind. Then the moment you have idea, then you have to write in a systematic manner how you can execute that idea. So what are the supporting things you needed during the entire project duration and all these things, and how much is the budget you needed. Do you need any supporting staff? For example, you need GRF, you need SRF, or you need some scientists to support your project. Then accordingly, you have to add that particular budget in your project proposal. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. One more, back. Okay, so relation of research proposal with research, right? This is okay. What is the relation of your research and research proposal? Very important, very important. So you think all the time, okay, research proposal is a plan, right? Whatever your like PhD plan is similarly as a research proposal is also plan. Research is also action, because you are during PhD also you have to take actions, right? You have to plan your experiment, right? Similarly, again, proposal is a compulsory for approving proposed research, right? Suppose you want to get funding from government agency or from industry, then you have to compulsory you have to submit a research proposal. So research proposal, again, it is a schedule, and research is an activity. Again, what is the difference? A research proposal is a mirror of research, right? Whatever, okay, you have timeline, right? You have document with in your hand. Okay, whether it is PhD research proposal, whether it is a funding research proposal, or anything, whether it is MPhil research proposal, anything, industry research proposal, right? Whether proposal have been submitted for getting degree, or whether a submitted proposal is submitted for getting research funding, also very important, because it is a mirror of what research you are going to do. Again, in another words, it is a blueprint of your research. Very important. So research proposal can serve as a document of contract of the project that already I have mentioned, right? Okay, so what are the different types of research project, right? Proposal, right? Next slide, please. So there are basically two types of research project. There are another two types. Next slide, Gaurav, please. Okay, so there are basically two types of research project. One is internal research proposal. So internal research proposal may be, okay, PhD scholar working with a research supervisor. So he might have 3-4 project ideas in here in his mind. Okay, he will give research project, PhD research topic to someone, but it's very novel idea. So we'll write a research proposal and get funding for that, right? So then if not, then the student will get the PhD degree out of this research proposal. Okay, then it is for academic purpose, academic research proposal, and maybe non-academic research proposal. For example, it may be have industry application, right? Maybe some of the things, and I suppose there is a kind of a company, they want to filter oil, and they want to develop a kind of a mesh for their kind of the density they want and all these things. So that is non-academic kind of research. This is known as industry kind of research. Again, there are external research project. So in external research project, so maybe basically again divided into two parts. For example, major research project and minor research project. Major research means you will get funding beyond 25 lakh, and minor means you will get funding less than 25 lakh, right? So these are major and minor. And in external research, so solicitor research proposal and unsolicited research proposal. Okay, so what is the meaning of? So I will just explain you in next slide. The kind of, okay, objective have been defined. So depending upon this is known as solicited research proposal and unsolicited research proposal. Basically differentiated into minor research project and major research project. Maybe sometimes your department also gives some kind of money to the research professor or research student or research scholar, that is known as minor research project, so that you will get kind of 1 lakh or 2 lakh or 3 lakh kind of support, so that your work can be supported by this project. That is known as minor research. So your funding is slightly less because your objectives are very minor and they are achievable. And in major research, you need a kind of instrument, you need a kind of chemicals which is not available, easily available, and the kind of your objective are very defined and very much not known in the literature. So that is known as a major research project. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, Next slide, please. So just I mentioned solicited. So solicited proposals are those that are written and submitted in response to the instance of a request for proposal. For example, there is always call from DST, or there is a call from ECRB, or there is a call from some industry. Okay, industry. Okay, they announce all these things. Call on their website. Okay, they will give 1, 2, 3, whatever their problem, industry problem, or ECRB common problem like Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? Atma Swachh Bharat, something. So like government. So depending upon the government make a policy, and then ECRB or DST they put it onto their website that okay they want to do these things. Oh, so they are actually calling for the research proposal. So on the receipt of research proposal, so they will evaluate the proposal. Okay, which is sustainable, which is not sustainable, which project is which work, project can work, which project cannot work. So depending upon that, they will call for the presentation, and in presentation they will also ask you several questions that okay this is possible. They will judge okay this is possible, this is not possible. Then they will decide whether your project is worth for funding or not. So this type of project is known as solicited project. Basically, they request you for the project proposal, and followed by you will submit the project, and they will call for you funding, and they will find that if they are getting solution to their problem from your project or not. Only then you will get the funding. Okay, this is very clear. Okay, and another solicited, there is a no, and another non-solicited project means, for example, you contact some industry. Okay, you will say that okay I have this facility, I have this, I am developing this project. Okay, whether it is work for your industry or not, and you are contacting to that funding agency or industry, and you will get some funding out of it. So that is known as non-solicited research. So interested investigator then submit a very small initially concept project, okay, 1 page or something like that. Okay, if they like an idea, then they will call for full project proposal, and then they will find okay you tell us the solution of this problem as well. If you give a solution to that problem, then they will agree for giving partial funding or complete whatever funding you needed, and that is very important for considering at early stage of the research. Yes. Next slide, please. Okay, already you're okay. I already you're go back. Yeah, already yeah already okay. I will define this unsolicited proposal, right? Okay, very important now. Okay, so what is the right time to submit a research proposal? Is also very important, right? Once you have okay minimum criteria required means not everywhere, because there are some schemes from ACRB like research ACRB women scientists where PhD is not necessary. Okay, even master student, master scholar also can submit a research project proposal. Okay, basically, when you think you are thinking that you are coming to some idea and you want to write a research project proposal. Okay, this is not a one-day job, right? Or this is not a 1 week, or this is not 1 year. Okay, it comes with year and year, right? So basically, what you have to do actually, you have to keep on building your biodata, right? I mean, building out means how to build your biodata means you have to attend a lot of conferences, you have to interact with the people, right? Then you have to write research papers before that, because I'm fortunate to evaluate in ECRB and DST to evaluate many project proposals. So there is one column actually. So that column says, okay, whether the PI is component to carry out research or not. Suppose you are working on graphene, right? Your project proposal is on graphene, and you have not yet published a paper on graphene. Sometimes, so your project will not be funded because you have not yet worked in this area of research. You don't know the area of research. If you are submitting yourself, okay, I'm telling you, if you are submitting yourself, of course, if you there are multi investigator, co-investigators, in that case there is no problem absolutely. But you are submitting yourself, then you should know the basic and the component of the research, or you should have already published a kind of research papers or file a patent or have a technology in this particular area of research which you have proposed. Okay, very important, right? Otherwise, you for yourself you will not get the funding. Okay, but for multi university it may get funded, right? So try to build your biodata basically from beginning only, from today only. You try to build your biodata. How to build your biodata? Try to publish papers, good papers. I'm saying good papers. Try to uh, file a patent. Try to transfer a technology. Attend many conferences, as many as you interact with the people of your interest. Suppose you're working on chemistry, so try to yeah, you will find. So not all people are with your similar research interest, because some of you are working on catalysis, some of you are working on a kind of the software development and all these things. So you'll be able to find the kind of people which they are working in a similar area of research. So try to build a network with all these people. Basically, you can improve your biodata and try to build your profile, so that will also impress the reviewer that actually you are working in this area and you are the beginner of this area. That the chances of getting funding is very high for this particular idea which we have proposed. Okay, next slide please. Okay, next slide go please. Okay, already I mentioned, right? So you have to build actually a network. Okay, because building a network is not possible in 1 day or 2 day, right? You have to keep on building a network and all these things, right? So that you know who is working on this particular area, who is developing the software, who is working in the chemistry of materials or material science and all these things, or who is doing biology, biotechnology area. You need to identify your people. Okay, sometimes okay, someone will okay, my area of research interests you to the Nobel laureate, something like that. You can contact that, not a problem. But not necessary